What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Live Coding with Rabbitwerks JavaScript. My name is Sean, and happy Halloween. So, excuse me, I got my mic in a different position tonight. Before we get going really quick, I just want to say that according to the whatever it's called, the thumbnail or whatever, we're gonna do some, what is it? I can't remember at this point. JSON cookies dashboard view and then protected routes. But before we get to that, we got to do something that I put off until this stream from last stream, and then jeez, I thought that was supposed to mute it. I'm sorry. What the hell? Weird. Anyways, okay. So I was supposed to stream on this past Saturday, but Comcast sent us an email, and apparently we were pretty close to our data cap for the month, so I had to wait, and hopefully this stream doesn't push it over, but oh well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we got to update our Vuex store first. So if we remember last time, let me actually pull up this application since it's spun up. All right, well, something on my computer is buzzing, something terrible. All right, so this is what we got so far. Excuse me. Here we go. I gotta close my overlay because it won't let me click. Wait, oops. Sorry, people. Is that showing up? Oh, it's not. Oh, it's behind the pumpkin. Where is it? Oh, go away. Okay, so we got our login. Apparently, maybe if it wants to work, something's broken. Maybe. I don't know what's going on. I'm being trolled by the ghosts of Halloween. Let's just go to the local host here. Nothing. Alright, something's going on. Let's take a look and see why our nav buttons aren't working. Nav bar item. Navigate view. This web page is like locked up or something. Hold on. Try and do this again. Ooh. Got the Hacktoberfest stuff done, and my pull requests got okay, here we go. Wonder what's going on there. Can I click? Well, it wouldn't be a stream unless something was going wrong, right, guys? Gals. I wonder why it's not working. I'm not getting any errors. Let's see. What if let's try this. Okay. At click instead of navigate view, I'm just gonna do. Router.push this route. That should be the same thing. Okay, so let's let me see. Let me just write a console log here, make sure this is running. Happy Halloween. Yay. Okay. And if we click that, okay, so it is in fact running, but it's not navigating for whatever reason. And it also doesn't have our pointer class applied to it. What is going on? Pointer, that's okay. Yeah, I can't even right click on it. It's weird. It's like, oh, there's like something here on my screen. Like, I wonder if I bring it. Oh, yeah. So, well, for whatever reason, this corner of my screen is not working properly. So our app is working all right. I'm just not really sure. Happy Halloween. Thanks for stopping by. You're gonna have to send. You're gonna have to or tell me how to say your name because Santos Ragov. I think that's proper. I'm not sure. But thanks for tuning into the stream. I'm trying to figure out why this corner of my screen's not working. It's really. I have a odd feeling that it's due to that overlay thing. Let me see if I can't. Okay, there we go. Yeah, okay, so that's really annoying. So that overlay is still there. It's like Xbox overlay or whatever. And it was up in this corner. You guys can't see it because it's just like an on-screen overlay. But I turned it off and it was just essentially set the opacity to 0. So like I couldn't click anything. Dang it. Alright. Thanks, Xbox, for that. Thanks. Appreciate it. Okay, so this is where we're at. So we got our login, we got our register view. What we want to do is right now, if we take a look at those components, so our login view, where you can see that we have this attempt login method right here, and that's for hitting our backend to test our database to see if we can log in, and then pretty much verbatim for once we get past all of this stuff, we get to our fetch request right here. Sorry. So instead of doing those fetch requests in here, I actually want to store all of this data inside of our Vuex store. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually move both of these methods into our Vuex store and turn them into actions for Vuex. And then what we can do at that point as well is we'll have our user object inside of Vuex. So let's see. So if we log in, we get back. Let's see. It's rabbitwerks10 is or rabbit10 is our username, current username. Cannot read property type of undefined. Oh, backend's not spun up. Where's that coming from though? Unload. Woof. Okay, let me spin up the backend really quick so we can see what we're getting back from the DB. CD server npm run dev. Excuse me. I guess you guys couldn't hear that, but okay. Failed to fetch. All right, it's running. Let's try this one more time. Okay, so we got our user object back. If you can see down here, I'll make this just a little bit bigger. So what we get back is we have our user or our response object. We get our user. Really open. Okay, down here. We get our user object, and right now when we log in, we just get the user class, the username, and the DB entry ID, as well as our token. So we'll come back to the token, but for right now, let's start by moving those methods over to Vuex. Okay, so what I can do, this thing is on the fritz. Rabbitwerks JavaScript is live. Oh my gosh, I better tune in. So this is our register one. Let's start with the login because that has less code to kind of reason about. And this will also help clean up and reduce the size of our components and whatnot too. So we'll do that. And everybody, oh, so yeah, the pumpkin is there on my overlay today, but the pumpkin is not working. It just so happens to be in the same spot. Okay, let's see. Fetch, we're gonna take this whole fetch fetch thing out here, right? Let me see, let me just double check here, valid creds. Okay, so there's a couple things that we need to take into account. So this valid credentials variable, and then yeah, so we're just going to need that valid credentials. So when we call this action, we're going to have to pass this in, the valid creds, as an argument to the action. So we'll go over that in just a minute. But so let's start by going to, let's full screen this for now, since we don't need the thing constantly reloading just to work on our Vuex store. I'm going to open up the store.js to there and reopen login. And over here, close all this stuff so it's a little more easy to see what's going on, what we're working with. So we just have login.vue and we just have store.js. So inside of here, we're gonna have, so let's start by doing our state really quick. So let's just do a user object, and inside of here, we'll have a couple properties, and I'll say username, be a blank string, just so we have a placeholder or whatever value for this key. And user class, and that will also be just like that. What else do we want to do? I don't know if we're going to store the, we're not going to store the token in Vuex. I don't think. We'll have to see. I'm not 100% sure at the moment off the top of my head. But the main thing is that we have these two properties to start with, because that's going to be what we're getting back from. Oh, we also want to have an ID because we're also getting that back from Mongo as well. So ID will be, we want to do underscore ID because it's synonymous with what we get back from with Mongo. So yeah. Okay, so let's next we're gonna move to actions. I know it's kind of like it kind of feels like a 1-3-2 follow along, but you could put the mutations underneath the actions. But this is just how I've always set up my my stores for Vuex. Okay, so the first action we're gonna do, since we're doing the login one, is let's just do the same name so we can do attempt login. Wonder if we should just be I wonder if we should just do the validation. No, okay. No, we're gonna do the validation in the attempt, or the component. So attempt login, and then we'll have, what is it? We need context and the payload. So the payload is gonna be our, essentially the variables or data that we need to send in to be used with this method or action as an argument. Oops. And then context is just essentially the Vuex store object. So what we'll actually do is, instead of just having context here, I'm going to just destructure commit out of it, because that's the only thing we need on this aspect of it. Because if we want to look at the Vuex or the context object for Vuex, you get a number of different things on there, such as commit, dispatch, getters, root getters, state, root state. Like, basically it refers to the context of the Vuex store. We won't go into that too much because this isn't, we don't want to get too off topic, but basically we're just going to pull out commit out of the context object. So context implicitly gets passed in as the first argument for Vuex actions. Okay, so inside of here now we can take this whole fetch request. So let's just take all of this. We can cut it out of there and bring it into here, just like that. I'm gonna fix my indentation. Oop. There we go. And let's see. What is it saying? edge should be for, oh, this right here, this dot then. Okay, so okay, so I have to take this last catch statement out of here and bring it back into the login view. Right. I also need to do these two. Sorry, that's kind of confusing. So let's just back up. Oop, wrong button. Okay. Backing up just so we can get this right. Okay, so from line 86, oh, wait. No, line 85 up to line 76. So the whole fetch request we want to take out. And we're going to bring it into that right here. So the attempt login. All right. So, oh man, I'm going to have to really update my my thumbnail because we're probably not going to get to everything tonight, but that's okay. So we'll do switch out valid credentials for payload. Go. Comment that. Okay, looks good. Looks good. So inside of the fetch, console.log data. We're not going to be console logging the data here. So okay, so we fetch to the login route, and what we should do is probably pull this initial address out and extract it to a variable so we can switch it out with our hosted site when we deploy it. Alright, so okay, let's do that really quick. So we'll take this out. So HTTP localhost, we'll cut that out of there. We'll go up above the Vuex store. So above the export default new Vuex store, we'll make some variables and we'll do const local URL equals, there we go, just like that. And then we'll just say well, actually we don't have a remote URL yet, so we'll just leave it like that. So what we can do is, instead of having this just straight commas like that, we'll just convert it to backticks and do some string interpolation here. And we'll just throw in the, so $, open, closing, curly brackets, and then our variable that we want to interpolate it just like that. And so we should have the same thing now that we had before. Now we can easily update our URL here based on what we want to target. So, okay. So now the next thing we want to do is we want to take the data that we get back from this response and update our state with it. So we're going to do it right here in this second .then function, statement, whatever you want to call it. We can delete the console.log and open up the body of the function, and inside of here we're going to do commit. So we want to commit the mutation to state. So the way this works with Vuex is that we call an action we can do like asynchronous stuff inside of, and then we use that response and call a mutation to update our state with that data that we got. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the commit function to call a mutation that we have to write. So kind of like a three-step process. So commit. It's been a minute since I've used Vuex, to be honest. I haven't been doing all that much coding lately. I've been focusing on other aspects of things, just taking a break and stuff, so I'm a little bit rusty, but I'm stoked on what we have planned for the future. Okay, so commit, and then we'll do attempt login. Actually, we'll probably be able to get away with using the same mutation for both the login and registration mutation or actions, since we're essentially just going to be using the mutation to take our response data and save it to store. So I'm gonna do that. So instead of calling this mutation attempt login. We'll call it update store user data. I'm gonna put an underscore underneath here just so I have that little bit of a thing here. And then also I want to the underscore muted just so I know that it's a mutation. And I'm also gonna do that up here for this action, just so it kind of helps me. And you don't have to do that for your things, but that's kind of how I've always written my actions and mutations in Vuex, especially because a lot of the time I have the action and the mutation will be named the same thing. So that's how I differentiate between the two. Okay, so we have a commit. What's going on here? So why is it yelling at me? Oh yeah, we could probably just do this. We don't have to open up the body for this. Just implicitly return it like that, and then we'll just pass in. So the second argument to this function, this commit function, is the payload that we want to pass through. So I'm just going to pass our data in as a secondary argument here. Okay, so we got that going, and let's go to mutations here and figure out what's next. Okay, so let's write that mutation for updating the store. So we'll say update store user data, and then it's muta, just like that, and then it'll be a function. So with the mutations, much like how actions get this first argument is the commit or the context object passed in implicitly, mutations get the state object passed in implicitly. So if we go like this, state like that, and then the second object or second argument that we get is the payload that we're passing through right here. So it'll be our data. Okay, so let's just make sure this is working so far. So let's just console.log our payload, and so payload should be essentially what our data is right now. And then if everything's good and dandy, we will update our state after this. Let's give that a shot. All right, so login rabbit10. Oh, rackbit. All right, rabbit10. ASD123 login. Did it work? Let's give it a refresh. Oh, you know what? We're not calling this action yet. It's right here. So before we can do that, we have to make sure that we actually dispatch this action. So what we will do in this case is just use the built-in Vuex, dispatch function or whatever to dispatch this action. All right, so login schema, if we look at our login.vue, we have our methods and then our attempt login function, and then inside of that we have our login schema validation. So if we have valid credentials, what we want to do is dispatch this action, basically make our fetch request. So we're going to say this $store, so that'll give us access to our Vuex store, and we'll say dispatch. Dispatch is the function inside of Vuex that we use to essentially call actions. So we'll say dispatch, and then we need to pass in a string of the name of our action that we want to dispatch. So it's attempt login, and then it is action. All right, cool. And then the last thing we want to do is pass in our object, which is our payload, and it's going to be our valid creds. So we'll say valid creds, just like that. Boom. Valid. What did I call them? Validated creds. Validated creds are cool. So then we get the data back from, so we make the fetch request with all that good stuff, we get the data back, and then we're gonna use that console log the response, or the data essentially, from our mutation, or inside of our mutation. So let's see if this works. Man, this charger just does not like my phone. Alright, let's open that up. Give it a refresh for good measure. Rabbit 10. ASD 123. Boom, look at that. Store.js and line something. Line 20, console log. Okay, perfect. Alright, give me 2 seconds. I gotta take this sweater off, get really warm in here, and I'm gonna get some water, so we'll be right back. All right, cool. So we're back. So let's get this mutation going. I think that cutting the music out of the stream has really helped the increase of traffic and recommendations and stuff, because my videos aren't getting demonetized or whatever because of content IDs. So shouts to everybody that subscribed in the last couple of weeks. I really appreciate it. Okay, update store user data muta, and then inside of here we will so we look at our browser actually for just a second. We can see what we get in response. So we have two different things essentially right now. We have an object that contains our user data, and we have a singular string, a token or whatever. So what we want to focus on right now is the user object. So I think inside of this mutation, I think we'll also set the cookie as well that holds our token, because this will only run when we log in or register, and then we can just have in our logout function, when we write that, we'll just be able to take the cookie out that way, so we don't need to mess with it in any other spots. I think we'll do that. So before we get that far though, let's update our state. So we'll do let's actually destructure our payload. So we'll say const open an object equals payload, just like that. And so we have two things in here, and that is our token, JRR token. Notes to the Hobbit. Thanks for tuning into the stream. Appreciate it. Happy Halloween. Okay, token. And our user object. And I think we can actually destructure that inside of here as well. Don't quote me on that. Let's see. Username. Hell yeah. Okay, username and user class, and then we also have the underscore ID. So I think that will actually all work. We're not getting any errors as far as all these structured elements are unused, so it works. Okay, cool. So we'll do that, and then we can also now say state dot user. You know what? Actually, I don't even think we need to do that. We don't even need to destructure all this stuff. What we can do is we'll just destructure the user object, and we'll just say state.user equals user, just like that. Because it has the same three properties, the only three properties that we have inside of our user object here. So everything should be hunky-dory. All right, so let's give this a shot. Let's see if it works. So we can, let's give this a refresh, and we can attempt to log in, rabbit10, ESD123. Log in, so we didn't have our console log, which is normal, but if we look at our Vue tools here, we look at Vuex, and boom. Awesome. So you can see that it worked swimmingly. Excellent. All right, cool. So now, in theory, because really all we want in our browser or our client as far as all this stuff, I think as far as right now, because we don't have any like advanced editing, changing, updating user information, that's something we could implement in, you know, further down the road if we wanted in this project, or I mean not necessarily in this project, but in your projects you could implement that. But you gotta think about when you're working off of a giant state tree like this and everything is kind of centralized around one source of truth, you gotta think about what all information that you'll need. So I guess like in a sense you could just pass this stuff in for by default, but if you had like an update user information kind of setting inside of like a dashboard, then you could, when a user clicked on that, you can make a call to the database to pull more of the information into your application for users to update, so you don't have all of that sensitive information kind of just sitting around hanging out in like local storage, or not necessarily local storage, but just somewhere locally on the machine, you know, in the browser or whatever like that, and temporary internet files. Just you only take what you need, I guess. And then so I think we'll go about it like that in this case. But if that was an issue or a situation that you were in, yeah, I believe that you would want to only make the request to the database and pull the information that you need for whenever you need it. Again, if you were going to click update preferences or something like that, then you'd make the full request versus just logging in where you get the username and the user class or whatever in our case. Okay, sorry. Gotta remember to breathe. All right. Let's see. I think we're just gonna do a bit of a longer stream at this point tonight because it's Halloween and I ain't got nothing else to worry about, so maybe we could like stop it and start it again at the hour mark, but I'm not gonna worry about that. Okay. Update store, user data, blah 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 blah. Okay, so let's see if we can actually, before we do that, let's... Oh, I'm so indecisive right now. I do apologize. I don't want to do that. I want to split off my terminal. There we go. Okay, what we're going to do before we go any further is we're going to bring in our registration fetch request as well. So let's just write a spot out for that really quick. register user, just like that. Again, we're gonna just pull out the commit function out of our context object, and then we'll also have our payload that we were passing in from our client. All right, cool. Now that we have that, let's head over to our register view. Oh, there we go. Split that off. We switched sides apparently, but that's all right. That's okay, because the store is our main focus. The store is the star right now, right? You know what I'm saying? Okay. All right, so if we take a look, I'm going to minimize that. If we take a look at our methods for our register.view, we can see that it's significantly larger than our login, but that's mainly because we're doing a bunch of validation and checking to make sure that all of our input fields have valid info and are filled out to begin with, and then email and password match, and then we're finally checking it against our schema, as West Boss would say. West Boss. Okay, so what we want to do is kind of the same thing. So we're going to take this whole fetch request, so we'll make sure we grab it in the right spot. So 179 to 189 here. Cut that out. Oh, wait a second, is that fetch? That then, okay, so yeah, that's correct. Because this catch is for, yeah, the register schema. Okay, I just want to make sure so we don't run into another fiasco like last time. So we'll cut out the fetch request, and then we'll head back over to the store, and so we have our register user action here, and then again we can just paste it in. Holy moly. Sorry, indentation. What is this? Expected parentheses around arrow function argument having body with curly braces. What? Bad? Oh my gosh, come on. The Airbnb. The scourge of my existence. The double-sided or sword of my existence. Alright, we're gonna fix our semantic errors here, and then we can switch out validated new user with payload. Just like that. Okay, so, and then we're also gonna delete this local storage stuff, because we're not gonna be doing that right now. We're gonna be using a cookie to do that, and that's gonna be handled inside of our mutation that we just wrote for update store user data muta. Alright, cool. So inside of here, we can just run that we can just commit that mutation. All right, so data, we actually don't need the parentheses around data because we're doing an implicit return at this point. Commit, and then pass in the string of the name of the thing that we want to do. It's like, oh, don't use backticks unless you have string interpolation. What do we call it? User update store. Update store. Sure, data. Actually, that should be a lowercase, I guess, since we start over with the Pascals or the camels after the snake here. Man, I'm just rambling tonight, something terrible. It's alright though, just hanging out, having a good time. We'll copy in our local URL from attempt login to our register user login URL with the string interpolation, so we can change it out in one spot and it'll update everywhere. So that's the nice thing about everything. Alright, so the last thing we want to do here is make sure to pass our data to our mutation. Okay, so that should be good on that end. So I'm just going to, for the sake of it, assume that it works. Yeah, whatever. Let's just register another user really quick. the bane of my existence. Oh, you know what? Before we can do that, I keep forgetting about this. So since we took it out of our our register.vue, we need to actually dispatch this action now. So again, inside of our register.vue, we'll have inside of the joy validation register schema validate async dot then result. So what we'll do with the result here is pass it in as our payload. We'll dispatch our action right here and pass it in as our payload. So say this dot $store to access our Vuex store, and then we'll say dispatch, because that's the function that we want to call to dispatch our action, and we pass in the name of the action as a string as the first argument, and then the payload is the second argument. So it is register user underscore action. Oh, and action is all caps actually, action. Register user, and then our second argument is going to be our result. Cool. Just like that. Alright, so let's take a second and register a new user now that we have that, and we'll see what we get back in our Vuex store. Alright, so God. So if we do different emails, it's gonna be like, oh, you can't do that. All fields are required. Tester. Emails do not match. Yes. Perfect. At least we have some semblance of workingness going on. My life. Unknown mutation type. Oh, we forgot. Muta. Come on. Oh, come on. Alright, one more time. Just for the sake of it, because it's Halloween and I'm feeling tricky. We had a bunch of people trick-or-treating at our house tonight. It's pretty cool. I love seeing the kids all dressed up. This one kid came over in a giant blow-up like dinosaur thing that you see in like the viral videos and other videos and stuff like that, and I was just like, oh my lord, where do I get one? All fields are required. Fields are filled out. Okay, so it ran. Okay, let's see what we got here. It did it? Yeah, no it did. Let's go to our Vue dev tools and see what we got. Alright. We're getting a bunch of errors now. Our payload is interesting. Okay, that's something I didn't really think about. So username already exists. Oh. Let me see. No. What we're gonna do is dump the database just so we don't run into this issue going forward. Open up our Robo 3T client to manage our MongoDB instances. Collections, users. Alright, so we'll just clear out the users. So remove all documents. Yes. Okay. Now let's see where what it gives us now. If we try to register, let's do rabbit. Okay, cool. So it works. We have that working. I need to figure out. Second, let me just look at this really quick because I want to make sure that we're not console logging the error. Okay, so we're gonna have to change this up a little bit, I think. Mainly being because if we try to register an existing username, it's still gonna, you know, give us an error, but I think it's might have to just do if no error. Let's see here. Let me just run this one more time and see where we're at. Let's see. What is this? New settings. Oh, let's see. We must have some new updates for the. That's cool. All right. Let's run it one more time. I want to be able to see this a little bit better, though. Please. Maybe I'll just make this a little bit smaller. There we go. Ooh, I like that. That's real nice. I like that over there. Why didn't they do that in the first place? Why? Okay, register. Okay, so yeah, payload object message stack username. Okay, so we don't necessarily want that going on. Where's the state coming from? Hold on a second. Base state. Okay, that's empty. Let's try one more time. Doing a bunch of like debugging. Well, trying to figure out what's going on with things, I guess. Email, Tektronix, password ASD123. Okay, yeah, so we need to update this a little bit. So right now when we get back a response from our registration fetch, we're getting back all the information. And like I was saying a little bit earlier, we don't necessarily want that. So let's update that so we're not getting it back. Because right now you can see that it's overriding our whole user object. We just want to make sure that we have the ID, the user class, and the username in there. We don't need the first, last name, or email. I mean, if you wanted to do something personal, I guess you could keep all that stuff in there, but like, I don't know. But right now we're just going to remove it because we just want to work with some simple data. So let's see, we want to, actually that's on the back end. All right, where are we at? Okay. All right. So this added user or variable right here is where we're getting where all that stuff is being sent in. So we want to, I mean, we could delete it, but I think instead of doing that, we'll just create a new object. So instead of saying that delete statement, we'll just make a new object. So const user equals, I don't think we're using, not until all the way up here. So that's fine. We can use it here. So const user equals new object, and we'll have I_ID is equal to added user dot underscore ID. Username is going to be equal to added user dot username, and then one more time for user class. So user class is going to be equal to added user dot user class. Right? Cool. We got that rolling. Oop. Thank the Lord. Everything was like crapping out for a second. All right, added user class. Cool. So we got that. And so instead of added user right here, we're just going to pass back our user object. So that should give us only the 3 properties that we want here. So let's just give this a test really quick and make sure. Oh. Rabbit 2. object. Okay, cool. So we have what we need there, and excellent, cool. So that is synonymous now with our login function. Next week, I'm gonna have to do some more stuff. Yeah, we got 53 minutes right now. All right. Close this. Okay, so let's go to our store. I think I got this figured out really quick. So what we can say is payload if payload dot message. So if that exists, then we just actually we can just return. So we don't want this to run any further. But if payload dot message does not exist, then we want to continue on. So we'll destructure payload, and then we'll set user as user, and then let's do this cookie thing now. So I was doing a little bit of a research thing, and I didn't realize cookies were very basic, essentially. So setting cookies, JS. I think it's just I just want to make sure I get the correct syntax. New cookie. Read all cookies accessible from this location. Okay, so this, not that one. So I'm on MDN right now. Looking at this, it's MDN is awesome for all things web development. So basically what we want to do is say document.cookie, and then we're going to give it a key value pair inside of quotes, so we don't have to worry about anything like that. And then so we'll do that. We'll do that in Vuex, but then Joshua was saying something about using you can use res.cookie in Express to set the cookie header for the response object. So I'm not 100% sure which is the better way to do it, or if both are required. So we'll have to get some clarification on that from him. But for now, let's just set it inside of a cookie on our client side. And see what's going on here. So what we can say is just like this. Okay, so we'll say document. I think we have access to the document object inside of Vuex. I would assume so. Document.cookie. Yeah, I think it's the window object that we don't have access to inside of Vuex, if I remember correctly. All right, well, document.cookie. What does that documentation say? Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna actually put it in a variable. So we'll say const token cookie equals. All right, so we have quotes, and then it will be token equals. Actually, no, we need it to be backticks, so we can interpolate our token variable into it. So we'll say token equals $, curly brackets, token, just like that. So we can send that off like that. And then if we say document.cookie equals token cookie, then that should set it. And then if we say console.log, and we say document.cookie, then should be able to, if we spell it right, document.cookie, we should be able to get a response with that cookie stored. So let's see what that looks like really quick. So we'll go about it through the login aspect of things. Pull up our application. We can switch over to login. Let's log in as rabbit and then ASD123. Oops. Login. Boom. Look at that. We got a cookie. Ah, sweet. That's awesome. So now I believe, if I remember correctly, the nice thing about cookies is that they get passed, or they get sent in every request that gets made by default. So we don't have to worry about pulling our token out of local storage anymore. So that's pretty neat. Okay, what do we want to do next? What do we got? That actually went a lot quicker than I thought. Okay, cool. So we can delete this console log for now. We just need to make sure that's being stored in there. And what we'll do... What is this giving me an error about? Console logging. Alright. You know what I think about your disables? No, not that. Excellent. Disable for the entire document, please. Okay, so we have our actions, we have our mutation, setting everything, setting our user object and our cookie. The next thing we want to do tonight is let's build out, let's start on our dashboard. We're gonna build a very generic, just essentially just a new view or whatever for our application, something that we can access only by being logged in. So we'll do that. We'll just make that up really quick, and then we'll call it an evening, I think, because we're getting to that 1 hour mark. Alright, let's see how it goes. Oh man, I'm so thirsty tonight. I gotta get some more water. I'm sorry, I'll be right back. All right. Sorry, I had to use the restroom as well. So we're back. Let's get this going. So we're gonna build a dashboard really quick, just like kind of a basic component or whatever. But I did come to a realization that we also need one other thing on our state before we can go further. Well, not that before we can go further, but that we should have before we go further. And that is just basically a Boolean property to depict whether we're logged in or not. So I'm going to say it's going to be on the root level of our state, and I'm just going to say is logged in, and I'm going to set it to false by default. And essentially, this isn't going to really have very much clout, for lack of a better word, as far as what it can do. It's not going to be any type of like verified property or anything like that. We're just going to change it essentially when we log in and when we log out. So we're going to change it from true to false. That's all we're going to do. But we're going to be able to use that value to make some changes throughout our application, like specifically the nav bar. When we're logged in, we want to be able to change our nav bar items from our login and register to just say like dashboard or log out or something, you know, home and log out instead of log in and register, because why would we need to do that if we're already logged in? You know what I mean? So we'll use that Boolean in conjunction with our application to kind of display some stuff conditionally. Okay. So is logged in is false, and then when we do set our store, what we want to say is state. State dot is logged in equals true. So we don't have a logout method yet because we don't really have a logout button, but we'll get there. So we have that. And now we can go about starting on our dashboard view. So I'm going to just close a couple of these things, make it a little bit easier to see. All right, so inside of source, inside of our views folder, we're going to make a new file, and it'll be called dashboard.view. And this will essentially be our dashboard. What I want to do is we're going to take the whole... Actually, I'll take it from login or actually home. Wait, no, not home. Oh, I'm gonna sneeze. That could have been loud. I saved your ears. Okay. Login. Okay, I'm gonna take this whole thing because I want to just grab essentially the container of everything, and I'm gonna bring it inside of here. No, not home. Dashboard. Make sure we open up our template block here. Paste that in. Oh yeah, there's an extra character in there. Okay, there we go. And we can delete the form. We don't need the form. We just have our content outer, so that'll work. Delete the form, and inside of our content outer, we can put like an H1. You know, now that I think about it, I think we do want to include at least like the first name in the information that we're saving, so we can actually say like a greetings. So we'll say welcome. Welcome, friend. We'll just say welcome to your dashboard. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm just gonna put this H1 here. And we'll just put like a P paragraph here, and we'll say there will be some sweet component components, can't type, components and UI here someday. All right, cool. So we just have like a basic thing here, basic view essentially. I'm gonna update this so it says dashboard outer and dashboard. I just want to make sure that oh man, I'm sorry. Oh, it hurts. Thanks for tuning into the stream. If you're new, happy Halloween. I just have something in my eye. I guess Halloween. I got a trick this year. Ouch. Okay. Alright, so we have our basic template here, and let me just check really quick. I was going to see if this is all view header. Okay, so yeah, these dashboard outer, dashboard inner classes actually don't have any styles associated to them. They're just essentially just labels, just so I can kind of keep track of things, and each of these has their own things. So login, outer, login, inner, just not necessarily necessary, but you know, that's just kind of like what I've done over time and kind of just developed just so I can know what all these elements are. Okay, so we got that. Let's open up our scripts tag. I'm sorry for I'm rambling again. I'll open up our style tag just in case. Scope it. Cool. Alright, so dashboard. Next thing we want to do is we're going to register this component as its own route in our Vue-Router. So let's open up the router and we can come down here. So underneath register, underneath register up here, we need to import our component first. So we'll say import, make sure to spell it right, import dashboard from, again, it's / it's in our views folder, and dashboard.view, just like that. Cool. Now we need to make a new route in here, so open up a new object inside of this array. Again, we have our path property, and that's going to be / dashboard. The name of it will be dashboard, just like that. And our component is going to be dashboard. All right, cool. So at this point, this is where we want to start writing in our protected routes. So we'll come back to that in just a second. Let's just make sure that this register route is, dashboard route is in fact loading out properly in our application. So we can come back to here and just type in dashboard into the URL. Welcome. Cool. Welcome to your dashboard. There will be some sweet components and UI here someday. All right, cool. All right, so let's see. So let's pull up the documentation for the Vue-Router and just take a look together so we can see what we're talking about here. So we have docs here. I'm gonna bring up the size. Navigation guards is what they refer to it as for the Vue-Router. Okay, so global guards. Essentially what navigation guards are protected routes. We need to be able to run a function. Whoops. We're going to run a function essentially that does something to verify that we are logged in, that we have a token or something like that in our local storage or in a cookie. And if so, then we can navigate to the route. And if not, then we're going to be redirected to a fallback route. So protected routes, guarded routes, all that good stuff. Guarded navigation. So we can set up a global, but we're not going to worry about that. We're going to do per route guards. So you can see right here, you can define the before enter property on a route object. It's essentially a function that runs. It's kind of like a hook. So before we navigate to any requested route inside of our client-side application, we're going to check and make sure that we're going to run a certain function and make sure that some sort of I'm losing my train of thought. Some sort of requirements are met. You know what I mean? So essentially, like we have the token in our local storage or in a cookie. So the before enter, God, I'm so losing my train of thought. I apologize. The before enter function gets a couple of different parameters passed into it implicitly. So we have our to, our from, and our next. So to is the target route being navigated to. So if we go to dashboard, our to will be the route to dashboard. If we're coming from the login page, our from route is going to be the login page. So from is the current route being navigated away from. Next is a function that must be called to resolve the hook. Action depends on the argument provided to next. So move on. So calling next, move on. We'll move on to the next hook in the pipeline. If no hooks are left, navigation is confirmed. So if we have next and we pass in false, abort the current navigation. If the browser URL was changed either manually or by the user via back button reset, it will be reset to that of the from route. And then if we wanted to redirect to a new location, we'll pass that in as a string argument or as like an options object with a path variable inside of it. If the argument passed to next is an instance of an error, the navigation will be aborted and the error will be passed to the callbacks registered via router on error. So we won't worry about that. We're just going to really focus on to, from, and next. All right. So let me pull up my thingamabob here. Cool. So if we go to our router here and underneath at our dashboard route here, underneath the component property, we're going to create that before enter function. And then again, we get to, from, and next in this case. So let me pull up my notes here. So right here, we want to check to make sure that we have that token. So there could be multiple times where we want to do this. So we'll probably abstract this out or refactor this out to its own function that we can call inside of the before enter hook. But for now, we'll just do it inside of here. So we can say if we need to check the cookies, so we'll say const cookies equals document dot cookie. And that should give us access to all the cookies. If we say, I just want to see what it returns to us, console.log cookies. What? Why isn't that syntax highlighting? Weird. That's weird. I don't know why it's highlighting like that. Oh well. Okay, so we'll just console log cookies. Okay, so maybe if we just navigate to what's going on here. Oh, I forgot the arrow function. There we go. That's what's going on. Okay. Okay, cool. So it's in there. Do I have to parse it? I'm not really 100% sure with the cookies, to be honest. I haven't really used them. Undefined. Okay, so that's not what we need to do. Cookies, and then do we really just have to like use to pull it out of a string? Okay, how do we parse cookies? Crash course. Cookie.parse string options, parse an HTTP cookie header string and return an object of all cookie name. Set cookie parser. I guess we could use this. All right, so we're gonna actually pull in this package to parse the cookies. So it's npm on npm. It's just the cookie package. I'll share the link in the chat if anybody wants to take a look at it, and I'll also make sure to include it in the helpful links section of the description. There you go. Toledo. All the likes. Okay, so what this will do when we install it is going to be able to allow us to parse the cookie string, and it's going to cookie.parse returns an object of all cookie name value pairs. So that's what we're gonna do. All right, so crazy, man. I don't understand what is going on with this phone. It says it's charging, but it's been at 6% for the last hour. Why? Okay. Where are we at here? Let's open up the terminal and we can run npm I cookie. Yeah, we just install it as a normal dependency. Any minute now. All right, let's see. All right, we have cookie in here. Now let's bring it into Vuex so we can up at the very top we'll import it. So import cookie from cookie, just like that. Yeah, right. And then we don't need to register it on Vue because it's not a Vue plugin. We're just going to use the package. So inside of here, we can say instead of console log, we'll say, oops, cookie dot parse, and then we'll pass in cookies just like that, and that should give us a, let's see, what do we have to call it as? Oops, where did my thing go? Here it is. Cookies. Actually, according to the documentation, we just need to go like this. We'll delete that. We'll save this parse to a variable. So we'll say const cookies equals cookie dot parse, and then we pass in document.cookie just like that. So now if we console log cookies, we should have an object instead of just like a string. So let's run to this. Oh yeah, so right there, it already did it for us. Refresh it one more time. Boom, we got a token. We actually have an object here with our token there. Wonderful. Okay, cool. So what we can say is I'm gonna just pull out the token out. pull the token out of the cookie. Cookies, just like that. All right, cool. And so we can say if token, then we want to just call next, and that'll be able to allow us to go to the desired route. So in this case, the dashboard. All right, so we'll just do that. And then else, if that's not in, or if the token does not exist, we will call next, and we're gonna pass in the hard-coded value for the login route, just like that. So if we don't have a token, it will redirect us to our login route, so to speak. All right, cool. So let's give this a shot and see where we're at with things. If we open up our terminal, shouts to Cyberpunk 77. Boom. Okay, it worked. It was kind of hard to tell, but if let's put a console log here just so we can confirm. Oops. You are authorized to view this route. Congrats. Cool. Alright, so if we open this up, we should see that message. Perfect. Now, if we are to come into where is it? Memory, security, application. Alright. And let's take a look at our cookies here. So we have our token just chilling in here. So let's clear out this for a second and hit the, we cleared out our cookie. And if we hit the refresh button, then we should be redirected to our login page. Boom. Cool, just like that. So that's basically protected routes in a nutshell. So what we could do at this point is we could refactor this into its own function. So we'll do that now. So up above our export default and below vue.use, we'll create a function. So we'll say function verify token. Well, we could say, let's say verify auth. Okay, so we need 4 parameters that we pass into here. So 3 of them are going to be the 3 parameters that we need for the before enter, because we need to be able, wait a second. Yeah, okay, so then the router works similarly to how kind of Express works, where you need, even though you're not using all 3 properties, you need to, or arguments, you need to pass all 3 in to be able to get access to like an individual one, like for instance, next. So we'll have to, from, and next, and we won't be using to and from per se, but what we need is to get access to this next, and we wouldn't be able to get that. So if we were just to run that, actually I think we can, oh, in this case, you know what, we don't need that. So if we were doing a before enter hook like this, you need all 3 of those properties in there, but I think since we're writing our own function here, we can just pass the next one individually in there. So let's just try that. So we need next, and we need the we need the fallback route. All right. let's open up this function, and we can actually take this whole function inside of here and copy it out. So, or cut it out, and we'll paste it inside of this verify auth function that we're writing right now. All right, so let's go through this. So we're accessing and parsing the cookies. We're pulling the token out of the cookies. We should probably make sure that we can actually, you know what? I'm going to do this because I just want to make sure. We're going to delete the destructuring because I just want to make sure that we actually have it. So if cookies.token. Because if we try to destructure the token out of the cookies object and it's not there, we'll get an error. And so instead of doing that, we're just going to check and make sure. We don't really necessarily need to destructure one property out of one object. It's kind of overkill at that point. So we're parsing the cookies. We're checking to see if cookies.token exists. If it does, we're calling next. And if not, we're calling next and we're passing in our fallback route. So let's switch this out for fallback route. Just like that. And let's bring down this verify auth function and plug it in right here. Verify auth. And then we'll pass in next and the hard-coded. This is where we're going to have our hard-coded fallback. So we can fall back to multiple things, essentially. You know, if we wanted to fall back to register or whatever, then we could do that. Or if we wanted to fall back to the dashboard, if we're not authorized to visit a certain page and we are logged in or whatever, then we can fall back to the dashboard, all that good stuff. So being able to pass that secondary or that fallback path in will be helpful going forward. All right, let's give this a shot and see what happens. So let's try and log in. So rabbit. Log in. So we got our token in there. It's gonna bring us to the page we want. What's going on? Oh, we're not pushing that to the route right now. We're not navigating. So since we have the token, let's hit up the dashboard. All right, cool. So it works. So we are able to get in there. Our verify auth function is working properly. And so the last thing we're going to do tonight is we're just going to set up so when we register and we log in, it'll redirect us to our dashboard because we want to be logged in as when we're done registering. We don't have to worry about like relogging in or whatever, verifying and all that stuff. Okay, so let's see here. Let's finish this up. Let's see. So this is going to be inside of our store now again. How do we want to do this now? I think we'll probably rename this actually to be a little bit more specific instead of update store user data. Find all references. No, I want to change all occurrences. Well, instead of user data, update store user login. User logged in. Okay. Cool. Reason being is because I want to make sure that this is only being used for and specifically for when we log in to our application. We don't want to use this for any other thing. So in doing so, we're going to set all that good stuff. After we set the token and the cookie and all that, what we want to do is just redirect. So we can say this stat router, $sign router. I don't know if we have access to the router in here. have to import the router. Let's see. How do I navigate to a route from Vuex? Let's see. It's probably really obvious. Navigate to route in Vuex from Vuex actions. Okay, yeah, so we just need to import the router into our Vuex store. So import router from Vue-Router, just like that. And now we can say inside of here, we'll just go this, or we can say router.push. Alright, and we'll go to the dashboard. Oop, not .dashboard, /dashboard, dang it. Alright, cool. Alright, so that should be all that we need to get this up and going. So let's take a look here. Let's try logging in one more time. Let's clear out our cookie, just so we don't have that in there affecting our test. Clear that out. Let's log in. Rabbit. ASD123 and moment of truth. Dum dum. Didn't work. Let's see. Do we have an error? Robbery property type of set. What the heck? Log in. Router, webpack, blah 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 blah. Push is not a function. Do I need to do a lowercase r? I think that's what's screwing it up. Yeah, I don't know what is up with this phone, man. I hope it's not going out. It's just not charging at all. It's kind of frustrating. Alright, where are we at? Okay, let's switch those R's out and see what that does for us. Try again. Rabbit. Same thing. Okay, well, apparently... Oh, I'm importing the wrong router reference. Instead of from the Vue-Router package, we need to actually import the actual router. There we go. Alright, now if we try it, it should work. That makes a little bit more sense. Let's see here. Bring that up. Alright, last time. Moment of truth, everyone. And... Dum dum! Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be here all week. Thank you. Alright, cool. Cool, so it's working. Sweet. So I hope this has been helpful in getting things kind of to the next step in your application with things. Let's see. Did we cover everything? I think we did. Let me check my image. That's my ultra checklist there. Yeah, JSON, cookies, dashboard, view, protected routes. Cool, we did everything and then some because we refactored out to Vuex. So congrats, guys. We did a good job tonight. I'm super stoked. Happy Halloween, and I think we're gonna wrap things up. All right, so let's push this code and we'll be done with it. So let's see here. Get checkout -b, make a new branch, fsafs -c-04, Vuex, refactor, and JSON, cookies, and what else did we do tonight? Kind of a long branch name, but that's all right. The longer, the more specific, the better. All right, we'll get add all, git commit -m, add dashboard view protected routes, refactor fetch rex to Vuex. And that's everything. Cool. And let's just push it up. Git push -u origin fsafs -c-04. Boom. Alrighty then. Let's see here. I also need to push the one change from the back end. Oh, they changed the thing already? Come on now. Halloween's not over yet. Jeez. If you've ever looked at the GitHub contributors grid on Halloween, they changed the color scheme out to the color scheme that we have for the the color scheme for my intro and outro cards for the streams on Halloween are based off of the color scheme for the contributors grid on GitHub on Halloween, but apparently it changed the colors already, so pretty neat. I like it that they do that. Kind of festive. Alright, let's see. Come on now. Alright, y'all. Here's the link for the back end repo. Or, I'm sorry, the front end repo. And let me just see here. Client, that's alright. Server. I'm going to bring up the server. Oops. We don't need it running anymore, so we can close that. Go. Come on. Okay, there we go. Git add all, git commit -m, minor changes, changed the user object response to the client. Git push. Alright, so that's up there too now. Alrighty then, so that's gonna do it for tonight's Halloween extravaganza. It was a bit longer than usual, but that's alright, we got a lot done. So thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Live Coding with rabbitwerks JavaScript. My name is Sean. It's been a pleasure to have you with me this evening, this session for live coding. I hope to see you back on the channel very soon, and until next time, stay awesome, keep coding, and we'll see ya on the flip side. And rabbitwerks is out at some point here, maybe. Peace.